everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters, and I'm proud to say in part 3 today we'll be finishing off Titanus Doug, I do say. On part 3 of the Chubby King Douggy project today, we'll be finishing off this Hollow Earth monster, I say, and as I sculpt away at this Kaiju's details today, we'll be talking about the newest evolution of Godzilla, you could say, the one from GXK, I do say. When Godzilla's new design was revealed to the world, some people were excited. Others, well, not so much.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Regardless if you hate it or love the new look, we all were wondering why Godzilla's appearance had changed. And for better or worse, it was the most talked about topic amongst Godzilla fans leading up to the GXK release. Now, about a month after the movie has been out, I was able to get my hands on the novelization of it, and I had the pleasure of going through it while working on this project. Now, obviously, some of the new lore that the book went over was, well, the reason Godzilla's appearance had changed so much, and gives you the reason as to why it was so drastic, and also explains the reason he came out of the ice looking more aquatic and fish-like. So that's what I'm going to explain today, so hopefully you enjoy this video, I do say. Welcome to Moose Motion Animation. So, let's get to it. First, we'll go over a quick recap on his old design. Before his evolution, Godzilla's design in the Monsterverse has stayed fairly consistent throughout the past 4 movies, and across the expanding media. While some aspects of him would change in his design between appearances, such as his dorsal plates, his physique, and the shape of his feet. Overall, his look stayed pretty much the same. It was always just minor and subtle changes where if you weren't paying quite close enough attention, you probably wouldn't even notice them. When you have such a great base design like the Monsterverse Godzilla, it's hard to change his look simply for the sake of change, which even Adam Wingard himself agrees with. Here's a brief summary on what he had to say on an article I found on therap.com. Word. Now, in this article, Adam says that it was important to him that Godzilla retain his look from Godzilla King of the Monsters when we got to Godzilla vs. Kong. And he went on to give a very good example in my opinion, by comparing the OG King Kong stop-motion design to the Suitmation one. And by that, he means the 1962 version of King Kong in King Kong vs. Godzilla. And yeah, not gonna lie, the Suitmation version of King Kong here looks really derpy. At any rate, Adam said it felt jarring as a fan. And as a fan, he always loved the different iterations of Godzilla over the years. And it seems like he's been quite enthusiastic about making his own design for a while now. Although he wanted to make sure that everyone understood that the design change was not just for the heck of it. Toy sales. Anyway, aside from my 2 cents, or technically his, he wanted to make sure that the evolution of Godzilla was a propulsive point to the story. So when Adam had the chance of being the first and only returning director for the Monsterverse franchise, he finally had the proper chance to have a Godzilla evolution. Adam also says that they didn't do anything too out of left field so people wouldn't balk at it. Ultimately, the changes to Godzilla are relatively subtle. There's some proportional changes and extra spikes, and obviously there's pink, which is probably the biggest one. Now, for the most part, I do personally agree with this, although I would have probably liked to see the red from the original toys. And he may look just a little bit different, but you can ultimately still tell that this is Monsterverse Godzilla. He's still got the big guy's heart and soul at the end of the day. Now, the designer of Evolved Godzilla, Jared Kuchevsky, threw in his own statement regarding the G-Man's new look when coming up with the design. His explanation is Godzilla's body was absorbing so much energy that essentially all this stored up energy was eating away at the fat reserves in his body, resulting in a more athletic appearing Godzilla. However, the book is out, everyone, so we do have some official lore as to why the design of Godzilla has changed. And just like Adam said, there is a solid explanation behind it. So remember, this is the official novelization of the film, so it is official lore of the Godzilla franchise right now, up until Legendary decides to, well, contradict it with a different project. R.I.P. Mewtwo Prime. So in the new Empire movie, you see Godzilla and Tiamat's battle. Spoiler alert, everyone. Which it really wasn't much of a battle, as it was more or less a breaking and entering turned to murder by the hands of the big man. It was all over in an instant. However, in the book, you actually get to see what happens in the scene where Godzilla's evolving. Tiamat's lair was smack dab in the middle of the highest natural source of radiation on Earth. Radiation in the Monsterverse is like gold and treasure to dragons of fantasy and medieval times. It's essentially irresistible to them. It gives them more power, capabilities, and pride. And well, Godzilla wanted it all. Once Godzilla killed Tiamat, he claimed her lair and radiation sources for his own, and started his transformation. The book explains during this process, Tiamat's blood and her essence had drifted down and around Godzilla. His body then began to absorb what was ultimately her DNA. A very similar process to what we saw in Godzilla King of the Monsters when Mothra sacrifices herself, therefore allowing the G-Man to actually absorb her powers, making him capable of defeating King Ghidorah. Tiamat's unwilling sacrifice resulted in a similar effect. Tiamat's DNA combined with extreme influxes of radiation basically made the G-Man a hybrid of the two titans. And this explains why his body went through such drastic changes. You can see the aspects of Tiamat's design that carried over to Godzilla. For example, the puffer fish-like spikes and prods that have grown out of his body, giving him a almost poison to the touch appearance. His dorsal plates now also appear to be more fleshy and fin-like. His overall body shape has become more slender and serpentine, allowing for better flexibility and speed, which definitely came in handy when he was battling Scar King and Shimo in the Hollow Earth. So only one question remains. Will Godzilla retain this look into the next movie? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Godzilla evolution video / Titanus King Douggy, which also happens to be a long-distant cousin in theory to Godzilla. So if you haven't seen part 1 and 2, be sure to check those out so you can learn more about Titanus Doug. And well, the evolution of Godzilla, obviously. I also want to give a quick special shout out to the Godzilla animators out there, particularly the ones that do stop motion and claymation, obviously, because you know how much work goes into this kind of stuff. I think a lot of you are responsible for, well, some of the best animations out there on YouTube, because it takes a lot of time and dedication to make that kind of thing, and I think the Godzilla franchise or fans definitely shows a lot of dedication to creating their own little fan films. So with that said, if you appreciate all the hard work and effort that goes into, well, the content that I create here, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a kaiju. Comment below what you think of the project, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. And be sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my daily short updates, as well as my weekly videos. I also do the occasional live stream where I'm usually working on these projects and or stop motion animation. I'll probably start doing that kind of stuff more or less on the weekends. Now, a lot of you are probably curious as to what the next project will be, so here's, well, the announcement at the end of the video. The next project will be... drumroll please. The King of the Hollow Earth, King Kong himself. Definitely looking forward to this project. A lot of you have been, well, requesting King Kong a lot. I believe Shin Godzilla is pretty much next in line as far as monster goes, but after King Kong, we will see the return of Ignis the Dragon, also brought to you by, well, popular demand, which will be followed by a animation which I'll probably hold some polls on some of my community posts as well as live streams. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this adventure with Chubby King Douggy. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.